Thanks. Awesome. Good job. Terrifying.
We're just going to stand here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're ready. So, hi everyone. I'm Neha Agarwal, and I'm chair of the graphic design program at Roche College.
And I'm Beth, and I am an assistant professor at Roche.
So, you guys have been to college. You know it's a time to find yourself. It's a time to feed your curiosity. It's a time to hopefully form your worldview, develop some sort of individual autonomy, and we like to think of it as it's a place to figure out where you stand so that you can stand there. But that's a lot of pressure as educators, right? Because we have to facilitate that journey. And it's really hard to figure out because it's different for every individual student. But what Beth and I are hoping is to figure out how to do that for a design student and how design can help our students do that. And so we co-taught a project that we want to tell you about called Shared Border, Shared Dreams. And we really feel like the experience of doing this project with our 7 graphic design students help them start on that path. So to give you some background information, Sister Michelle Bisbee is chair of religious studies at La Roche. She teaches a class of 600 students across the college called Regions of Conflict. Basically what they had to do in that class, besides study different regions we're in conflict with, is go through some sort of simulation that simulates an experience and then write a response to it. So of course she came to graphic designers, and there's our lovely students. And our challenge was to create the experience that facilitates that dialogue, and the theme this year was the US borders. So we had to do it in the lobby of our library. We had 9 weeks to do the whole thing, and of course we had no budget and no resources.
And then again, we had to, of course, figure out what sort of conflict we wanted to focus on. And so looking at the borders, we pretty quickly ruled out the Canadian border. There's not a lot happening there. So we looked at the southern border in Mexico, and of course there's, human trafficking and drug smuggling, and then there's that wall that we built between us. But ultimately what our students decided to focus on was the issue of immigration. And immigration being a huge topic, we had to phone a few friends. And these are a couple of the fellows that we could talk to. The first ones we talked to were at Conflict Kitchen, and they were gracious enough, we have Brett Yazko, the designer, and Robert Sayer, the chef. And they were gracious enough to come in and tell us about their process. They let us know how Conflict Kitchen came to be, what they did, and how they facilitated conversation. Greg Jabusco from Maya Design also came in and talked to us about the design thinking and problem framing. And we learned that the design process is a lot like this. There's a lot of cyclical things that happen, ups and downs, highs and lows, but our students would probably
Pretty much just felt like that.
Ours felt a lot like that. Yeah. But again, with immigration, we're up to our eyebrows and trying to understand it. And we used a lot of Greg's techniques to try and sift through the topic, but ultimately the thing that really kind of resonated with us were the personal stories. When we spoke with actual undocumented immigrants, they helped us feel empathy, and it was that empathy that actually helped us better understand the issues that surround immigration. And what we decided would be really fantastic is if in our simulation we could get the other students to feel this empathy, and in hopes of when they feel this empathy, they also understand immigration, but more importantly, as humans, they'll understand that we share more similarities than differences.
So we tried to look deeper into these similarities and differences, and surprisingly enough, college students and undocumented immigrants had a lot in common. And basically what it was their dreams and their hopes for the future. But of course their differences were the challenges that both parties face in order to attain these dreams. So we literally went to different La Roche students around campus, asked them what their dreams were. And this was the funnest part. We got some awesome responses. I dream of living without fear. I dream of getting an education. The best one up there is I dream of swimming with dolphins. That's awesome. So they weren't all really usable, but we identified the 7 most commonly said. And we were like, okay, these are the centerpiece of our concept. This is what we want to surround this whole thing on, these dreams. So how do we make this experience now? So of course we looked at tons of visual inspiration, Mexican iconography and type and color, but we also had to figure out okay, dreams, but what's the content of this simulation? So we had to generate the content, we had to write it, we had to figure out how the simulation was going to work and how are our participants going to navigate that information. And to be honest, in 9 weeks, we spent probably 6 conceptualizing and researching the whole darn thing, and then it just kind of happened over 3 weeks.
Yeah, so the way the simulation worked, these are some stills of it. The students came in as themselves. They picked dreams as college students would hope to dream for. Then they quickly received a persona of an undocumented immigrant. And then those dreams became those of the undocumented immigrant. And there were some characteristics on each of those personas, like were they fluent in English, how long they'd been in America, other important facts. And they essentially went to each station that corresponded with the dreams that they chose, played sort of like a game, and decided if their dreams were attainable or unattainable. If they were attainable, they kept the card. If they were unattainable, they had to rip the card in half. And then that led to our dream wall. And this is kind of where they posted their unattainable dreams and their attainable dreams. But it was a great measure of our simulation to see, of course, that there were way more unattainable dreams than there are attainable dreams because of the things that they face as an undocumented immigrant. Lastly, they got a takeaway with some journal prompts that you see right there in the top left.
And our PDFs are black, I don't know why.
And some black PDFs for you to look at.
Well, so basically the journal prompts kind of started the conversation, but then they also got to learn on this timeline below kind of the history of immigration in the US, and then also what's happening in immigration today, which is already out of date. But ultimately the project we thought was a huge success, not just because they facilitated dialogue within the LaRoche community and our students learned so much and they started this path to understand where they stand, but mostly because they did it through design. And that's what LaRoche learned, is through design you can facilitate that kind of dialogue and help people down that path. So why the heck are we telling you guys? We have other ideas. We want to turn the experience into an online interactive experience. And we would love to install the exhibit somewhere else. It's just in a closet in LaRoche right now. Beth and I have no idea how to do it. So if you have ideas, if you have money, that would help too. Contacts, anything, that was our contact information. So thank you.